So let me start giving a brief overview about what we already talked about. The way we have defined it up to this point is that a proposition is a statement that is either true or false. And then we have seen that logical formulae, they are built from propositional variables. We use uppercase letters for these. Then the way they are connected is by these logical operators. Propositions are connected by logical operators. So for example, if we take this, we looked at that example earlier, if you take the statement the street is wet and the proposition it's raining, then we can form new propositions. For example, we can form a proposition, if it's raining, the street is wet. And that's, we can also write it like, if it's raining, and then it implies the street is wet. So implication is an example of a logical operator, and we have also seen other operator, but let me remind you, the most common ones are not, or, and exclusive or, and implication. And we also have, I just talked about, and then we have equivalence. That means it's often referred to as, it's basically A is equivalent to B, or logical equivalent to B. That means that A implies B, and B implies A. So now let's get to the meaning of these different logical connectives. So for example, the not is simply called negation, and it simply is means that A is not the case. So we talked about that already. We give examples for that. We have the or. But it's important to bear in mind that this or is the scientific or, the logic or, the or that is used in any kind of a scientific discipline, mathematical discipline. That's the or we think about. That means that A holds B, or B holds, but both of them could also hold. We have the conjunction. Actually, this or is called a disjunction. We have a conjunction, which means A and B. It means both of them have to hold. The exclusive or, implication, and if and only if, or by implication, or it is also sometimes called. Or we say that A and B is logical equivalent. It means that one way of saying it is that A and B imply each other. So A implies B and B implies A. Now let me give you some concrete examples. I did that last time but let me change the example slightly. So we have two statements. A is the statement Peter can legally drive a car, and B, Peter is at least 17 years old. And from these two statements we can form a lot of different new propositions. We could, for example, say B implies A, that becomes, if Peter is at least 17 years old, then Peter can legally drive a car. And so forth. I mean, you can go through it yourself. A implies B. If Peter can legally drive a car, then Peter is at least 17 years old. Notice that here we are not concerned about whether it's true or false at the moment. We are simply just making the statements, the propositions. So I have to say that I use the words statement or proposition interchangeable, just so you know. So when I say statement, or it's the same as a proposition. So for example, Peter can legally drive a car, and Peter is at least 17 years old. That's a statement, but it might of course not be true. Maybe an interesting exercise I ask in class is that if Peter is at least 17 years old, then Peter can legally drive a car. That's this one. How does that statement compare with the next statement? If Peter can legally drive a car, then Peter is at least 17 years old. How does these two statements compare? The logical equivalent, are they saying the same thing or not? Well, here it's tempting to sort of in everyday language, if you say the statement, I think a lot of people might consider the two statements to basically say the same thing, because we know, I mean, if you go out here in the UK and you go out and check the statement empirically, if Peter is at least 17 years old, then Peter can legally drive a car. Yes, that seems to be sort of correct. I mean, if we take a small bunch of people and we check this statement here in the UK, then probably both statements will come out exactly the same way for each individual. And you might argue that in the UK these two statements are equivalent. However, you notice I emphasized UK. You can see why the statements are not logically equivalent, because remember the test to test if something is valid in general is to check that it's valid in all possible situations we can imagine, or all possible worlds. We will sometimes talk about all possible situations, or in all stories. We can think of the two statements if that is valid, then it's valid. So that is a test. So to check whether these two statements are logically equivalent, or basically expressing the same thing, we have to check, is it valid in all possible situations we can imagine. And you can think about that, but for example, if you're in America, then the first statement is correct. If Peter is at least 17 years old, then Peter can legally drive a car. That's correct. However, if Peter can legally drive a car, we cannot conclude that he's at least 17 years old in America, because you can drive when you're already 15, at least in some states. So, anyway, let's move on. But so now, the thing is, this is an ingenious thing about truth tables, that in order to check if something holds in all possible situations we can imagine, when we deal with propositions, what really is the case is we only have to, so to speak, imagine situations where, and only be concerned about the truth value of the individual truth variables. So in this case, yes, a new America, that was one world where it might be where, for example, if Peter lives in America and Peter is 15 years old, then let's see what happens. Then A is true and B is false. So the world 2, you can say, is in some sense correspond to a situation where Peter, he is 15 years old and live in America. But the point with truth tables is, instead of considering all these different, infinitely many possibilities to check if an argument is valid, maybe Peter, he lives in America, we have to consider he's 15 years old, so he could also be 16 years old and live in America, and he could be live in Canada, or he could be live in many other countries, and so forth. So there are many, many different situations we should consider. The point with truth tables is that all these kind of infinitely many possible worlds we will have to consider to see if an argument is valid. We can just reduce to a finite number of cases. In this case, there are basically 4 different worlds. One where both true, one where they're both false, and so forth. You can see the different worlds I've written here. Of course, the way we enumerate, the order in which I enumerate the worlds doesn't matter. But we have 4 different cases. So let's now focus on this example. So we have the two statements. A, the propositional variable A, corresponds to the statement Peter can legally drive a car. The propositional variable B corresponds to the statement Peter is at least 17 years old. So we have the 4 different worlds. We can also express them like this. Explain what happens in the world. In the first world, A and B are true. In the second world, not A and not B are true. In the third world, we have not A and B is true, and the last one, A is true and not B is true. So these are the 4 different worlds we have to consider. Now, in the first world, A and B holds. That means, if you translate it into the situation, that Peter can legally drive a car, and Peter is at least 17 years old. We don't need... Okay, so this is the point. How Peter looks like, he looks like this in the picture, is not any more relevant because we only look at the truth value of the propositional variables. We're not concerned about anything else. It doesn't really matter. Now, in this world, let's see. So in this world, Peter cannot legally drive a car and he's not 17 years old. Okay, in this world, he definitely doesn't look like he's fit to drive a car. I don't know if he's intoxicated or asleep or something, but he's definitely not... He cannot legally drive a car in that condition. But he is more than 17 years old. So this is illustrate world 3. And finally, the last world, you might discuss whether it exists or whether it's reasonable world. But in this world, he can legally drive a car because the way we interpret it. In this world, we live in a world where to drive a car, this is counted as a car, basically, even though it's just a toy car. But he's not 17 years old. So we have these 4 different worlds. Now let me go straight to some weird things about the truth tables. We already talked about it before. Some of the things. Let's have now A being the statement, the moon is made of green cheese. And B, you will find 20 pounds the next week. So there are 4 possible worlds we can live in. You might say at the moment B is not even real, it hasn't been actualized. We don't know if you will find the 20 pounds or not. But the way we treat it in logic is that we have the statement A and B, and there are 4 different situations that can occur with regard to these 2 statements. In one of the worlds, here I list them slightly different from before, but basically both statements could be false. One could be false, one could be true, and so forth. We have these combinations. Let me start to look at world 3. So in this one, the moon is made of green cheese, and you don't find 20 pounds the next week. So what about the statement A implies B? Now here you can see what we also talked about before, that the implication is not the causal implication. There's absolutely no relationship between whether the moon is made of green cheese and whether you find 20 pounds. There's no relationship. So, however, in the logical implication, that's not what we are concerned about. Whether there is we don't require there to be a causal relationship at all. What we can see is that the question is simply, you can think about it like a promise, and the promise is basically, if I promise you that if the moon is made of green cheese, then it's a fact that you will find 20 pounds next week. If you think about it like a promise, then you can simply ask, do I keep the promise or do I break it? And that's how implication works. It works like a promise. A implies B works like a promise. It's simply saying, I promise that if A is the case, then B will also be the case. That's what I promise you. If the promise holds, then the implication is true. And if it fails, it's false. So if you think about it in those terms, we can actually fill out the different... we can see what we should do. If A is true and B is false, then I have not kept my promise. So therefore the implication is false. If A is true and B is true, then I have kept my promise. And now, what about these things? We talked about last time already that false implies everything. But let's see again. I mean, it is a strange thing to say. So basically, in this case, it's if you don't find 20 pounds next week, or also if you find 20 pounds next week, this statement is true simply. It's simply correct that if the moon is made of green cheese implies you will find 20 pounds next week. That statement is true. And the reason is that the moon is not made of green cheese. That's the point. That false implies everything. And if you think about it like a promise, you can see why this is the case, because the condition A, if that is false, then I can never break the promise, because all I'm promising you is that if A is true, then B holds. And this is also why implication really works like a promise, because later we will see that we often use implications in proofs. For example, we want to argue in arguments. So it goes like, I promise you, I claim from these premises I can deduce this conclusion. And what happens is that you think about it like, I promise you, it's a guarantee that if these premises hold, then I guarantee that the conclusion holds. So every single step in the argument or any implication can be interpreted like, if the premise holds, or if the A statement here holds, then I promise you that this holds. So this is why implication really function like a promise. It is something that guarantees that if A is true, then B is true. So the statement A implies B, the only way it can be false is if A is true and B is false. You can say the only way I can break that promise is the condition holds, but I don't deliver the promise. So false implies everything. I talked about it last time, but let me return to it so you can see it. I mean that one way of explaining it, now explaining slightly different from in the last lecture, is that the statement false, I will explain why false implies false is true and false implies true is false. So both of them are true. I mean, this is the thing that false implies everything. And here I can provide a proof of it. So there are different proofs. I mean, but one argument, that was the one I have done already. But in some sense, A implies A, that have to be a true statement. That must be true. A implies A is a true statement. Because, again, if you think about the promise, if A is a case and I promise A, then you can never break that promise. It's clearly a true promise. But you can now, if you plug in the truth values, you can see that implies that if you substitute for A false, then we get false implies false, or 0 implies 0. And the same here, 1 implies 1. We can also explain that false implies true. Why? That is comes out true. That's because if we have this proposition and we substitute A for false and B for true, then we get this, and A and B, these two statements, A and B is false if just one of them is false. So we end up with false have to imply true. Just based on these two principles, this should be a valid formula and this should be a valid formula, and we should in general be allowed to substitute into the formula. That's the whole idea, that these are variables. We can substitute anything we want into the formulas and without losing the validity of a statement. Now there's another way you can prove it. You can probably make up even more proofs if you want. But another argument for that false implies true, you could see we have written down here. So if you look at the example with the moon is made of green cheese and you will find 20 pounds next week, then basically there are 4 different worlds we can look at. There are 4 cases, and you can see, if again you think about it like a promise, then you can see the only thing that can go wrong is that the moon happens to be made of green cheese, and the promise, namely that you find 20 pounds next week, that promise is false. All other cases the statement is true. So now let me try to explain. We have already looked at truth tables in the past, but now let's try again. So we have a statement A and B in general. They can be anything now. Now I just treat them like 2 propositional variables, A and B, and there are 4 different cases to consider. There are 4 different worlds. We have the statement in A and B, and you can see that statement comes out false in 3 of the worlds. It's the only case where it comes out true if both A and B are true. implication we have already talked about. You can see the only way it comes out false is if A is true and B is false. Not A clearly comes out with opposite truth values than A. And the OR, again, it's a logical OR, so the only way an OR comes out false if it's both of them are false, which happens in this situation. Now let's consider a propositional formula built up by brackets. So this is a more complicated statement. And at this stage already, it's probably it's much more convenient just to think about it like letters. If you start to fill in actual statements for an A and B, it starts already to be a bit of a tongue twister to express this statement. So this proposition, a claim is valid in all possible worlds. And a proposition that is valid in all possible worlds is called a tautology. And the way to demonstrate that something is tautology can be done by truth tables. So let's consider this statement. The statement here is the one, a claim is tautology, and what I have written up here in the table is some proposition that is related to this one. These are like the building blocks of the proposition. So let's look at A implies B first. Then we can fill this in. These are the truth values for A implies B. You can see that we could not fill in any of the other ones first. At this stage, we cannot do the truth table for this one before we know the truth table for A implies B. So it's sort of the first step is to find the truth table for A implies B, and we already talked about that. It generally comes out true, but there's just one case here where it's false. That's when A is true and B is false. Now we can do the truth table for this one. You can pause for a moment and think about how we calculate this truth table. Which of those three? We have already 3 columns here, but what should I look at in order to compute the truth table of this one, or to determine the truth table of this one? Well, I need to know the truth table of A and A implies B. So this column here, we can actually ignore now. So what we get is, you can see that it's only here down in this case where this one is, isn't there a mistake here? No. It's an and here. It's the only case where both of them are true is in this last case. All the other cases, they come out false. And then finally, we can look at this. Then we have to look at this column. Does this column imply this column? So we have false implies false. Actually, as soon as we see a false here, false implies false. We don't even have to look over here. We know all these 3 are false, and therefore this implication must be true. And the last one, we only have to look at, it's enough we see the one over here, then we know that the whole thing is true, because it's true implies true. As soon as we see a true here, we know that it's true. So this was a kind of result of our calculation. We made a truth table calculation or a truth table, and that what it shows is that formula evaluates to 1 in all cases. So it's true in all possible valuations. That means in all possible worlds, because there are 4 different worlds that are relevant for, or we need to know the truth values in to determine. To determine what happens in all possible worlds, we just have to look at those 4 cases. So it's a tautology. It means it's true in all possible worlds. Let me just have a footnote. I will come back to that. I will repeat it a number of times, because often people will say or think, what's relevant of truth tables? That's very neat and so on. But is that really something that what has that to do with computer science? Yes, maybe you have heard about there are some if statements and then statements, if this, but this and that is not even exactly the same, because we talked about last time that if A then B. The B is actually an action, it's not even a statement, so it just kind of resembles things you see in programming. So you might ask, what is really the point of truth tables? And I will definitely come back to that many times later. But I will just say that it's an extremely powerful. You cannot go to any serious talk in theory, or if you look at what industry are doing when they do scheduling or planning and lots of things, literally speaking, thousands of different type of problems you will see in industry. I mean, one example was just one example out of many examples. One time I spoke to somebody who was working for Mercedes, and he explained how they use truth tables all the time in order to evaluate whether various combinations of designs, whether they were consistent with certain requirements or not. Just a few days ago, I went to Facebook where there was a talk, and they were talking about how to determine bugs in program, how to build automatic tools that can find bugs. But on every second slide, you would see things referring to satisfiability and SAT problems, SAT solvers. But these are all things that are directly related to truth tables. So you can be absolutely sure people like Bill Gates or any person who make it, or any person who knows anything about IT, any serious person would know what truth tables are. And for many areas of computer science, they actually play a role, at least indirectly. So they, in the sense that they are sort of the ABC of theoretical computer science or computer science logic. Anyway, that was a footnote, but I will probably repeat that a number of times because it's very important to bear in mind why we are doing this. Anyway, so let's go back to another example. So we wonder whether this is a tautology, or you can also simply say we want to test it, that formula, and find out where is it valid, where is it not valid. In which world, in which situation does it come out true, in which cases does it come out false. So we do the same thing as before, and I don't want to, now I'll do a bit faster because you can slow down with this, you do it for the implication. Next one. In this case we can see that it's not a tautology, and we can actually see exactly when this formula is true and when it's false. Now here are some exercises. The solutions are all done on the slides. I'll not go over the solutions, but they're on the slides. Let me only say a few things about A, because A is sort of interesting in its own right, because this is called the excluded middle. It's saying A or not A. It's a tautology. You can see the truth values here. The truth table also show it's a tautology. And that is related to the fact that a proposition is a statement that's either true or false. So let me finish with a side remark, and that is that we will later in the course see that there are other logics. And computer scientists have invented an awful lot of logics, are considering many types of logic. In some of these logics you don't have the excluded middle. And the explanation for that could be that the way we interpret propositions could be different. For example, if we instead of taking A to be a proposition, took it like a belief about something. For example, it could be I believe a certain statement. I believe there is life in this galaxy, elsewhere in this galaxy, could be the statement. And this one could be not A, but then be I do not believe there is life elsewhere in the galaxy. But it's not in general the case that either I have one belief or I have the other belief. As it happens, I simply don't know. I mean it's possible there's life somewhere else in the galaxy, but it's also possible there is not. I don't have a belief about any of the two statements. So in this case, this statement is not really valid if you interpret it proposition as beliefs, for example. And there will be many more examples later, and And so there are many situations in computer science where it can be argued that it's simply not correct in some sense that we have A or not A. But that depends on the interpretation. Okay. But for now, we're dealing with classical logic, where propositions are either true or false, and where one can apply truth tables, a technique you're learning now. And in that setup, this is a tautology.